October 1st, Atlantic City Council meeting to order. Thank you for your silence. We're going to go to approve the order of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Got a motion, second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Item number 2, consent agenda. Approve minutes of the September 17, 2014 council meeting and approve route for Fireman's Parade. That should be in your packet. The route layout for the Fireman's Parade, which is pretty much, I think, like it generally usually is.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
A motion, second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Item 3. Chief, do you want anything about the Fireman's Parade, or? Okay, it's checking.
No.
Okay, no, the other chief. Chief in charge of fire.
It's still going.
All right. All right, item 3, approved change order number 6 on 2014 Atlantic Street project for certain improvements on 17th Street.
Good evening. Change order number 6 for the street project involves some improvements we did on 17th Street. As you know, we encountered a lot of rain in the bottom of the hill. On the west end of the street was actually pumping water up from under the ground. They pump the water every day, and when it wouldn't rain, there's water in there the next morning. We saw it seeping in through the ground. So what we had the contractor do was over-excavate down about 18 inches, fill it in with a 3-inch large rock, and then we'd lay geogrid over the top of that. These are similar improvements that we did on sections of 22nd Street and east and west of Olive Street, both places we did that out there. It worked well. Then we came in, added 100 foot of subdrain also to accommodate the water and connected it right to an intake there. So the total change order amount for that project was $7,193.44. And again, that was all related to water issues that we basically had to take care of, or we would have issues, just a couple years down the road with that section. So questions about that or about the decision made there?
You put a lot of rock, I heard you put a lot of big rock down below.
Yeah,
A lot of rock in the
we put
bottom
a
there.
foot thick 3-inch rock, then we did the geogrid on top of that, and then the millings on top of that. So then that geogrid will basically bridge all that issue. And the subdrain underneath will drain it out.
Perfect. That's-
Yeah.
I know it's been a problem up there.
Yeah, so. Other questions?
Steve, motion.
Make a motion to approve change order number 6 on 2014 Atlantic Street projects for improvements on 17th Street.
I'll second.
Got a motion, second, any discussion?
Real quick, Dave, before you take the vote, one thing I did forget to add was we also added 10 days to the contract.
Okay.
Not necessarily due to this problem, due to the weather.
Yeah.
They ran out of time yesterday, and the only thing they have left is the Laurel Street, or Maple Street sanitary sewer. They're doing it now, so we added 10 days, and I should mention that to you as well, just strictly due to weather. It's rained for, seems like 5 months straight, so that's
Heavy.
also in here.
Yes.
And that's at no cost, 5 days.
That's no cost, that's just to extend the contract time by 10 days.
Okay, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Item number 4.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Order relative to request from the EPA to support their decision to move forward with the nomination of the PCE East 7th Street site on National Priorities List. I think we changed that name to the dry cleaner site. All right, Susan?
Right.
Yes.
That's what I'm here to talk about. I have a little map here to show you. My name's Susan Fisher. I'm with EPA Region 7 out of Kansas City. And EPA's been doing an assessment of the groundwater in Atlantic, Iowa for the past several years. What we found in the groundwater contamination is tetrachloroethylene, or typically we call that PCE. PCE is typically found in a dry cleaner solvent. Back in the 1980s, 70s, they used PCE in their dry cleaning solvent. They still use it today, but back then they weren't under any laws to make sure and not dump that PCE down the drain or in the back door. So we have issues with the PCE in the groundwater at Atlantic, Iowa. So this map just kind of gives you a big picture overview of the contamination that we found when we were doing our assessment. The source area is here off 7th Street. We have identified that source area, and what we want to do is clean the source area up. But you have the source area, and then the PCE in the groundwater goes down gradient from the source area and goes down towards Troublesome Creek. If you're all familiar with where that is.
Basically, it's Rolling Hills Bank and the building just straight.
It's a building
west-
next to that,
west
yes.
of Rolling Hills Bank on the corner there.
At 12, across from Orchlands.
Yep.
Okay, so we have PCE in the source area. We found as high concentrations of PCE, and then we found PCE in the groundwater. The PCE starts in the soil, and it goes down through the soil layers into the groundwater and into this layer called the Dakota sandstone. And then through all these layers, it is traveling down gradient. What EPA would like to do is to do what we call a removal at the source area, where we come in and what we're proposing is to do this electric resistivity heating technology at the source area, which basically volatilizes the PCE out of the ground and out of the groundwater. Once we do that, we'll still have contamination in the groundwater from where the source area all the way down gradient to Troublesome Creek. And that's what we call dissolved phase PCE. That's PCE that's dissolved in the groundwater. And we need to remove the PCE out of the groundwater as well. And so that's the second phase of this removal. This would be a removal action, what we call removal action, and then the dissolve phase is what we call a remedial action. And the remedial action is a little bit longer term to get rid of that groundwater, that dissolve phase groundwater. And we're proposing to put some interceptor wells down here to pump the dissolve phase out of the ground, treat it, and put the water back in the ground. So basically, it will take the PCE out of the groundwater. In order to do that, in order to go to the remedial phase, we would like to ask the city to write a letter to EPA stating they'd like to go on the national priorities list. What that means is, in order to do the remedial action, because it's a groundwater site, it needs to be put on the national priorities list. The national priorities list is this big list of contaminated sites that is a nationwide list. All states have them, and basically just list that site as a contaminated site. Once the site is, EPA writes a letter saying there's no action, then that site is taken off the list. So we're asking the city to support the remedial action and to send a letter to EPA stating they want to be put on the national priorities list.
Everybody understand what's going on up there? Basically, we got one well that's shut down now because we've been shut down since 1980, well number 7. They found some leakage going into the well number 6. The drinking water in Atlantic is perfectly safe, but we're trying to avoid 20, 30 years down the road. We're going to have some really problems going with it. EPA is going to come up and they're going to foot the bill for it for $1 million plus.
The removal is going to cost around $1 million, and that's what we call a fund lead removal, where a super fund funds that removal action.
And that well actually hasn't been shut down, it's been running to keep it away from the other wells.
Right, that's correct.
Okay.
AMU
We're not
7,
using it. Yeah.
AMU 7 has not been running into the city water supply since 1980. That well's been pumping the contamination and dumping it into the wastewater treatment plant. But we're trying to keep the contamination from crossing Troublesome Creek and going into the city water supply wells. But right now, the AMU is testing the drinking water on a monthly basis, and they have found no PCE in the drinking water. There's no PCE contamination that you're drinking. We're just trying to keep the contamination from getting into the wells where they'd have to shut down more wells.
And the other part is we're going to be tearing up 7th Street next year. Hopefully, the bid's going to come in from Olive Street back to Burger King, so it'll give you an opportune time to come in and get rid of a lot of that stuff, physically getting rid of a lot of that dirt. I mean, because
Right.
in my office up the corner about 8 years ago, they come in and they took 22, 24 foot down and took a bunch of dirt out. So they'll probably do the same thing there, which would be a great asset to get that out of there, so.
Who does the excavation? Is that EPA? They get the,
What EPA
Contractors.
does, I have a set contractor that bids out. We have several contractors that bid for the job for EPA for 3 to 5 years. That set contractor, I tell them what we want to do, and then he will bid out subcontractors to do the work, to do some of the digging and things like that. And they usually, they bid local, local in Iowa, around here, they'll ask for bids. And then they take 3 bids, and then they get, off of those bids, they pick a contractor to help them out.
Are any of those subcontractors local or regional?
Could be.
Could be.
Yeah, we always try and do local. We always try, when we get subcontractors, we put the bid out locally.
How long would this, once you start, how long would it estimate how long before it would be completed?
The removal or the remedial process? The removal process is gonna take, with the electric resistivity heating, basically we're putting rods in the ground and we're heating them up, and those rods are heating the PCE up and causing it to vaporize. And then we're pulling that vapor out of the ground and treating it before it goes into the air. That takes about a year. We'll have that system running for about a year. The remedial process is a long-term process, and I can't guarantee how long that will take. That will take several years.
But I should still be living when it's done.
There's a good chance of it. At your young age.
Right. Outside of unnatural causes, I should be all right.
Don't talk back to the wife.
So
Go ahead.
will that eventually allow that well number 7 to be used again, or?
The problem with well number 7 is that it is, the screen, the gravel pack and the screen is falling in, and so that well it was built in 1942, I believe. And in order for that well to go back online, there would be a lot of reconstruction to do, about $10,000 or more to reconstruct that well, to bring it back online.
If somebody wanted to pay that, then would the water be drinkable?
Once the process is done, once the remedial process. But right now, it's acting like, it's pulling a lot of the contamination, as the groundwater flows this way, this well, or sorry, the groundwater is flowing this way, this is north, it's backwards. So here is the source, the groundwater is flowing this way, and AMU 7 was pulling the contamination towards it, but because the well is failing, it's going towards AMU 6, but it's still pulling contamination out of the groundwater. So when EPA is done with the remedial, then they can go ahead and put that well back on, but right now they can't.
And then is this all underground, or is this something that we'll see is happening out?
You would see us doing construction along 7th Street across from Orscheln's, in that parking lot, there's a commercial building there. You would see construction there. You might see construction of the wells. I don't know where we are gonna put them yet, but otherwise you won't really see anything. The groundwater, the contamination goes all the way into the Dakota sandstone, which is what we call a friable sandstone or a crumbly sandstone. So the contamination is traveling underground in the Dakota sandstone.
Other questions? You don't need, what's the drawback of going on the super fund? I can't think, I know, we talked to DNR yesterday, or Monday?
Yes, Monday.
Monday. And there's, being on the super fund list, it kind of, some people think might be a negative to the city, but I look at it as, talking to the Iowa DNR, and correct me if I'm wrong, once you get to the first part's done, that's when you're done, but the remedial part takes a long time, and that could take a while, but I look at it as, since 1980, we've been testing that well every month. So we've been working on it for 40 years anyway, so really, we've done the same thing we have been doing. We're trying to get it cleaned up. The worst case, what I don't want to see happen is 30 years, 40 years down the road, we don't do anything, and then we got another drink around here. But that's the worst case scenario I look at. The other case scenario is the Iowa DNR doesn't have no fund money to help us take care of it, and the EPA has all the money to take care of it. So it really is a no-brainer for us to get on this fund, get this taken care of, and and attack it.
Right, and I have Dave Hofer here with me, he's the EPA attorney, and
Attorney?
he can discuss the
You can't have- you can't have
EPL,
two-
any
you can't
kind of
have two attorneys in one room.
ramifications or.
Then you have to leave.
I don't know if you have any questions regarding how the Superfund works. My name's David Hofer, I'm an attorney with EPA. I'm not assigned to this side, somebody else is, but she had to travel this week, and so I'm covering this meeting
Okay.
for her. Just to explain the process, so we'd have two components, removal component, which would be the heating of the soils, the drawing of the vapors out, clean up the source area, and then the long-term component, the remedial component. I don't want to give you the wrong impression in that we do have the responsibility, we have a fiduciary obligation to the Superfund. We have to look for any viable parties to pay for the cleanup. At this point, so I just want to be upfront with you, we have that obligation. If we cannot find viable parties, the Superfund pays for it.
Okay. That means former owners of the property, right?
I'm sorry?
So you're talking about basically former owners of the property that would then
It's,
contaminate.
there's four classifications of parties who are liable. It's the current owner of the property, the owner of the property at the time of disposal, somebody who arranged for disposal, and that's typically an entirely different situation, and anybody who transported material to the site that was disposed of at the
Okay.
site. The latter two categories I don't think apply here.
Okay.
And there are certain defenses and exceptions to liability set forth in the Superfund law. So in this instance, I think we do have a current owner of the property. There might be opportunities for them with regard to exceptions or defenses to liability.
Okay.
So if we approve this and it becomes, it goes on the list and then it becomes eligible for the Superfund, and then the current owner may get stuck with the $1 million bill?
What we would do is we typically work with the current owner of the property. If they have a defense or exception to liability, we will help develop that with them. We will review that exception or defense, and if that defense or exception applies, we won't be looking to them for payment of any reimbursement or anything like that.
Who is the current owner?
I think it's Rolling Hills Bank, I think. Or probably, it could be an LLC of them or something.
Is there any way of finding that out beforehand, before we place them on?
I think, yes, I think that we have done some, what we call potentially responsible party research. So I think, Susan, I think we've taken a look at that, and so what we typically do is we typically, the recorder of deeds, we pull chain of title on the property, we ascertain who the current owner is. We typically engage that current owner in a discussion regarding how they acquired the property, what knowledge they had, et cetera, to ascertain whether or not a defense or an exception to liability applies.
So if we sign this, if we approve this order tonight, how quickly can you speak with the owners of the property to test the liability?
We're currently working with the owners of the property, and they're working with us very
Okay.
well. So that's all in the works. And we've been working with them since, before 2011. So we've had meetings with them, and they're giving us access for the property, and they're aware of, the due diligence laws, and they have an attorney that is supporting them.
Is
But-
AMU involved in the discussions with Rolling Hills and you?
No.
No.
I would anticipate we're going to have a dialogue with them. I think we need to have a dialogue with them this quarter, by the end of the calendar year.
So basically, the procedure, we'll submit this to the EPA, you'll submit it, you'll put it somewhere, and it'll come back to our governor, and he has to okay it put on Superfund list, right?
I'll let Dave explain that, because he's more of the NPL person than I am.
The NPL, we have the legal authority to put aside on the NPL. We typically want community, state acceptance and support of what we're doing. It's not necessarily determinative, but we do pay very close attention to what the state and the community want done. So in this instance, if the city wanted to support this and indicate their support, I don't know where the state is in this. I don't know what the state, I don't know if the governor. Frequently, we get a so-called governor's letter, a letter from the governor supporting the listing. So I don't know in this instance, I don't know enough about the facts of the situation. I don't know what type of support we have from the state. But we do look for community acceptance, community support, and state support and acceptance. But again, those are not determinative for us. We can proceed and put a site on the list without those.
Okay.
But frankly, that's exceptional for us to do that.
What's AMU's liability in all of this?
The whose liability?
AMU?
The municipal utility, the people who own the city wells.
Oh, okay. I don't have any basis to think they'd be liable. Basically, as I understand it, the source of the contamination is there off 7th Street.
Mhm.
There's contamination flowing in the subsurface down to the south.
Mhm. North.
I'm sorry?
They're flowing north, it's flowing north.
Going north, okay, I'm sorry. People who are in that intervening area over the contamination, we have enforcement discretion policies. I brought copies of them. I don't know if you have a city attorney who I can leave these with, but we have contaminated aquifer policy, so we don't hold people liable who are above the contamination, who own the property where the contamination is flowing through the aquifer. And so I don't see any basis for liability. I can't give you an absolute assurance that there's no liability because I haven't researched it. But based on what I've been told and based on what my discussions with Susan and others, we see no basis for liability.
Other questions? Council's still talking. Council's still talking here, hang on.
I'm just a little concerned about approving this and then basically socking it to Rolling Hills. Is that a concern?
I don't think
Am I-
that's-
Whether or not you approve this, what goes on between Rolling Hill Bank and EPA will still go on.
Oh, that's gonna happen
It's
whether or
gonna
not-
happen no matter what, because of the contamination, but our attorney, like I said, it's not Dave, but Demetra Salisbury's attorney on the site, and the Rolling Hills Bank, we've had several meetings with them, they're working very hard with us, and we're in a working relationship with them.
The one thing you want to remember is $1 million cleanup, EPA is gonna take care of. No EPA, somebody else gonna take care of it. So do you want the city doing $1 million cleanup or whatever down the road, or try and get IDNR to come up with the money? Right now, the EPA is gonna take care of it, so that's the big trigger, that's the big hammer right there. It's gonna cost $1 million to at least get that started.
Once it's on this list, the well will still have to be tested and things for years and years.
He's gonna
right?
test, he's gonna test every month anyway.
He's gonna test monthly, he's been testing monthly since, he started out testing quarterly, then he's testing monthly at least since 2004. And that testing will continue. AMU has said, I've had a meeting with their board, and John Martin's the supervisor there with AMU. They will be testing that well monthly to make sure that there's no contamination in the drinking water.
And right now, there's none in drinking water at all. We checked perfect, everybody does that perfectly clear. There's no contamination in the drinking water that was coming out into the faucet and stuff. Basically, everything kind of cornered in one area. They've been pumping that well to draw the stuff away from the number 7, pumping to keep it away from the other wells. But it's starting to fail, now we're trying to get a minor, we're in the early stages of an emergency, I guess you might call it. All right, we might have just had a little spark there. We're gonna take care of that spark now before we have the future catastrophe down the road, I guess, for better words.
I guess I'm just uncomfortable with designating something as a contaminated site.
It's
Just from
contaminated.
Past experience. Okay,
It's-
is it already designated as contaminated and
It's
this
a
is
Superfund
just-
site.
What?
It is a Superfund site.
Explain to her what is the contamination. I explained it this way, I said, if you put a nickel down and that's on that site, and that's your level, that's your average,
Mhm.
and put a whole dump load of dirt on top of it, that's about what the contamination level is, covering a nickel. That's how much is over that, our average site is. That's how bad that site is right there.
The contamination, we need to clean up to 60 micrograms per kilogram. And we found contamination as high as 3,400,000 micrograms per kilogram. So it's almost pure PCE in the soil there. And so in order to get it out of the groundwater, a removal action needs to be completed.
Is it already like designated on the EPA list or something like that?
It's on, we have a system and where we insert the information. It's called Circlus, and it's publicly available, so people can see what we're doing, so they can see that the site is being investigated, they can see the results of it. The National Priorities List is a list of kind of the most important sites that for remedial action. So that's kind of a higher level. I mean, that gets more attention than just our surplus designation. I don't know if that makes sense or not. But so far, it's got the lesser designation, so the information is publicly available regarding the contamination that we found. But it's not on the National Priorities List, which is, again, kind of more of a heightened concern.
So it's already on a list. So this is just gonna make it so that we can qualify for the EPA to pay for the cleanup possibly?
We can't do long-term groundwater remediation unless the site is on the National Priorities List. And so putting on the NPL will allow us to do the long-term groundwater remediation. That's really kind of the point of that.
And then what's the difference between that, and why would the EPA pay for that when they don't pay for other cleanups?
We do pay for other cleanups. Let me explain this. If somebody dropped a bunch of barrels of contamination on the ground, if they dumped, midnight dumping, if they left a bunch of barrels on the sidewalk over there, and we got involved with that, we would come up and we would put that on our surplus list. And so we'd identify that as a so-called drum removal. We'd come up and we'd clean that up. We'd use Superfund money presumably to clean that up. So that's a short-term, that's a so-called removal action. That's where we go in. Sometimes we're digging up soil. That's part of a removal action. Remedial action is longer term. For that, we have to, so for that short-term drum removal, we're using Superfund money to pay for that. A long-term response action, a remedial action, a groundwater action like that, the only way that we have the legal authority to do that is through the inclusion of that site on the National Priorities List. And so the fund will pay, if appropriate, the fund will pay for each of those types of response actions, the removal action or the remedial action.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No.
Okay.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically, the Superfund pays for a short-term removal. So that will pay to remove the source area. And I have up to 2 years to remove the source area. Okay, and so then the dissolve phase in the groundwater, in order to get funds to remove the dissolve phase, it has to go on the NPL, which is a higher Superfund list. It has to go on the NPL so we get money from headquarters to pay for the remedial action, because it's a long, this action could take a long time. So it's just basically
And
how to
then
get the
what,
money.
there's two steps, there's the remedial, and then there's
The removal and the remedial. So there's 2 buckets of money. I have money for removal action, but in order to get money for remedial action, it has to be put on a higher list to remove it out of the groundwater.
So the first phase of the work, the heating up of the soils and drying the vapors out, that would be a so-called removal action. And then the remedial action would be the groundwater response, a longer-term response.
And the Superfund will only pay for one of those?
No, Superfund would pay for both,
Okay,
yes, if
It's
appropriate.
just 2 buckets of money.
okay.
The remedial is what's on the way down to the wells. And I've been to all these meetings with AMU, and this is something that I think we really need to do to protect our groundwater.
Kathy, they're gonna sock it to Rolling Hills Bank. If they are going to, they're gonna do it regardless of what the city does.
And then they're already on a list.
Right.
You just hear these stories of things being put on a list, and they're on there for
Well, it's-
100 years.
For the NPL, once EPA says the site is cleaned up, then we write a letter. Is that the letter to the city?
Yeah, basically what we do is we go through a delisting process at that point. So once remedial action is complete, the removal action and remedial action are complete, we do delist the site and take it off the NPL. But I'm not gonna try to fool, I mean, I don't know the geology up here, I don't know how complex it is, but oftentimes these cleanups do take a long time. And so it's not going to be, a year from now, the site's going to come off the NPL. I mean, that's just not the nature of a groundwater cleanup.
Okay. So, I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we support the EPA with their decision to move forward with the nomination of the former dry cleaner site as a national priorities list.
Second.
Got a motion, second, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Item number 4, now the time for a public hearing, order relative to disposal of, 5, excuse me. Public hearing and order relative to disposal of 1200 Birch Street and 706 Poplar Street. Anything written?
I received no written comments.
No spoken? Anything from the council? Anything from the public? None from the public?
And there is no order to approve tonight. Well, I'll have the resolutions ready for the next meeting.
Okay.
And we can discuss how we want to sell
Okay.
these projects.
Good order, motion to
I'll
close
make a
public hearing.
motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion second, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. Item number 6, order to authorize the mayor to enter an agreement with Fox Engineering regarding services related to potential discharge of Molly Engine Components USA Incorporated influence into the city's wastewater system. And that should be number 6, and that basically, we're gonna take care of their wastewater, they'll eliminate their plant out there, right there.
We've been working
wastewater.
with them to handle their
Yeah.
industrial waste. This study will review the potential impacts of handling that, making sure that our plant can handle the volumes and the types of chemicals and metals that will be in that effluent. We think, that it can, but we do need to verify that, especially when dealing with copper and some other chemicals.
And Molly's gonna pay for the,
Molly's agreed, that's part of the agreement, they will pay for the study and also putting together any agreements that are necessary.
and we'll get a copy of the studies too.
Yes, the city will. And those actually then have to go to the IDNR for approval as well.
Charles, nothing being done then until those studies are completed?
Yeah, I mean, until IDNR, and they have to have hearings and look at the results as well. Then once they agree and the city agrees, we get an agreement, a pre-treatment agreement with Molly, then we could move forward to connecting them. Probably the earliest that could happen would be next spring.
I would make a motion to authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement with Fox Engineering regarding the services related to the potential discharge of Molly Engine Components effluent.
I'll second it.
Got a motion second, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Item number 7, order to approve a resignation and severance agreement between the city and the city administrator. I got something I want to read first, then we'll get some ground rules out. This is me and Doug Harris. Right, Doug? We come to
Yes.
agreement on this one here. In the employment agreement between the city and Mr. Harris, it was agreed that his services would be terminated by the council without cause, and in exchange, the city granted Mr. Harris certain severance benefits. That is in the employment agreement. That's just word for word. Doug wanted me to read it that way. We have chosen to exercise that right. No findings of cause, need, or will be made beyond what was already been acknowledged. That while Mr. Harris has done nothing illegal, majority of the council and I found his viewpoints and advice have often been in keeping with the direction that we think the city needs to be going. That's short and sweet. People want to make some comments. We're going to make limited to a minute. Be positive. We're not up. Leave the, what do you want to call it? Try and keep it toned down. Then we're going to go into quick closed session. to discuss the severance agreement, because some of the council people need a little more on the severance agreement only, what it's about. So, do you want to make comments? Come up to the podium, make your statement. Yes.
Have you agreed to go in closed session?
Yes.
Yes, correct. You- yeah,
I
Dave
was,
does.
I was told that several council members wish to discuss it privately.
Just more to discuss, what the severance agreement is, then we'll come back on and explain it all.
So now is the time for the public to,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I think the city of Atlantic owes Doug Harris a deep debt of gratitude. He's worked diligently and tirelessly to keep Atlantic on the right track of accountability and good stewardship of the taxpayers' money. I think he's looking out for everyone very well. He's worked very hard in a deplorable work environment with the mayor, and he has worked to enlighten the council on the interpretation and intent of the law, and which is his job. And the mayor and his constituents did not want to hear the truth or represent the taxpayers. And Doug has worked very hard to get the infrastructure back into good shape. Many projects have been put off for as long as 10 years, and he is trying to get that back on track. And in doing that in the past, they have probably cost 2 or 3 times more than it would have cost if it was done in a timely and a progressive manner. And he has a good working knowledge of what is good for the city in the long run, and has ideas and plans on how to do this. I know that the resignation is well-greased and probably good for Doug, who would want to work in this type of environment. I sure wouldn't want to be in a negative environment all the time. And I think that the council needs to be aware of what the majority of the citizens want and hope, and what they really, I feel they should do now is probably go through a process such as they did when hiring Doug to get a good seasoned person that can deal with these matters and keep us on track, and in such a manner as Doug has done with his honor and his integrity and his selfless service towards the community. And I want to really thank Doug for his diligence and service even under surreal pressure. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Oh, name. Your name?
Doug Dimmick.
Okay.
I'm Roger Steffens, and thank you.
Roger,
Yep.
we're gonna keep it under a minute.
I'm not going to make any comments tonight. I, however, have a few questions I would like to mostly pose to you, Mr. Mayor, or the council, but mostly you, since you seem to be at the center of this horrendous action. And question number 1, why did you not give our city administrator 6 months' notice that he was fired and saved $100,000 for a better project? Or could he remain on the job now for the sole purpose of training the trainee, but with this 6-month termination notice? Number 2, can you tell us a little bit about this training program you have in mind in order to shape this new trainee? Number 3, who is going to do the training? Will it be you, Mr. Mayor? Number 5, if it is you, do you have a master's degree in public administration, as does the one you're supposedly going to train? Number 6, how and when will you know the trainee has satisfied your demands as a capable city administrator? Number 7, will you, Mr. Mayor, be answering to others through this process? And number 8, will the graduate of your program be put on notice if he deviates from your demands and wishes?
Thank you.
And you go ahead and answer some of these.
The only I'm gonna answer is, we did not fire Doug Harris. So the rest of it, we'll let you take care of your own part. Next. Huh? I said he can answer his own questions.
My name's Jeremy Butler. I think we need all the emotions out of all of this. I'm here as a concerned taxpayer. I think the city of Atlantic, the people of Atlantic deserve an explanation of how, you know, spending $100,000 on a severance package, when you just admitted that you did not fire him, if you didn't fire him, then why are we spending $100,000 on a severance package? And secondly, your exact words, Mr. Mayor, were that we were going to train a new employee, need to know who we is, and like Roger commented, you know, if you have the expertise to train a city administrator, then why are we even spending the money on a city administrator?
I'll answer that question. When did I say that? Or was it in the paper?
It was in the paper.
Thank you. I thought you'd know.
Okay. I didn't figure we'd get answers.
Yep. I don't think I made a quote in the paper on that.
You didn't make that one?
My name is Ria Whetstone. I'm not sure why we're not permitted to have answers. Can you give me that answer?
Basically, I've said from the start, me and Doug's talked about this a couple times. We made our statement what the answer is gonna be, and that's what it's gonna be.
That's not what I heard from the Harris family, and I was told that...
Well, I don't know what you heard from the Harris family.
I do, I'll tell you. Unlike what I'm hearing tonight, it seems to be all shrouded and under a curtain, and I don't understand that. We are concerned citizens of Atlantic, Iowa. We do pay our taxes, which Mr. Harris has tried to keep down and spend in a reasonable way. And he says he doesn't care if the people of Atlantic know why he was asked to resign. So I don't understand why you're hedging and not giving us answers, all of you. I called one other person and they just said, he's a good person, I just don't want to discuss it. And I don't think that's right. Don't we vote for you? Aren't you to represent us? Did you ever think to give your ward people a call and say, these are our concerns, we don't like this is the way this is working? I've been here before and said this before, I don't get it. I do not get it, why you can't call the people in your ward and tell them what the problem is and discuss it. I don't get it. And if I'm a little emotional about it, I'm sorry. But that's the way I feel. And the questions that I've asked before were, I don't understand this abatement. I need to see it on paper. It looks like to me in the long run, it's not going to make that much difference. Who in Atlantic has that much money to spend on a house when the jobs aren't here?
Kind of keep track. We spend too much time up there.
I haven't been here a minute. I've been here maybe 20 seconds. I'm watching my clock too. So, and the street thing, the whole street thing about going through, just a bunch of junk. And I think Mr. Harris has done a great job, and I think most of the people here, can I ask for a show of hands, how many people support Mr. Harris here tonight? I want to see it. There you go. And these are just a fraction of the people in this city that feel this way. And I want to know if Mr. Harris would like to stay, if you all would change your mind, which I think you should, because I think you should go back and call the people in your ward and see how they feel.
Brianna, comment, back to the first comment that Doug gave to me to read.
But when I spoke to you privately, that's not what you told me. You told me he didn't want people to know, and I know for a fact that that's not so.
I said, basically, what he's talking about is protect his rights, our rights. We're going, no finding clause was made. No findings. Doug wanted this read this way, and after Doug.
Well, it appears to me that you're overlooking his rights, and why aren't you looking at ours? Why aren't you looking at our rights? Why aren't you? Why are you so closed mouthed? I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. And I just think you better stop and think about it. I don't know when elections are next time, but...
These people did vote you in, and they can vote you out.
Yes, they can.
Yes.
So, I guess I'm finished. My minute's up.
Yeah.
And we will. My name is Karen Miller, former council member. I was on the council at the time we hired this man. We went through a process of interviews and advertising over a period and brought in 3 good candidates, we thought. Out of those 3 candidates, this man was the most armed gentleman to handle this type of situation we have in this community. Over the years, we've had a lot of concerned citizens, so to speak, wanting to get rich off of TIF programs. This man had to come in under a situation here with basically a purse that was pretty tight, budget that was real tight, and basically we could not do much of anything as our council had to sit on our hands because we had no money to do streets, storm sewers, anything, city hall, whatever the question was, we didn't have the money. This man came in, put the budget together, and over that time, short time that he's been here, 5 years, he's put together a plan for streets, storm sewers, all the upface things that I see coming around and putting this community in the forward direction that it needs to be. There's other things besides housing that meets jobs in the industry to this community. A downright disgusting town that's falling apart will not bring good businesses. Thank you. And your council had the last say on this, not Mr. Jones. The council is the employer. Thank you.
Thank you, Turner.
Anything else?
Well, I would like to ask the same question that Rhea did. If Doug was willing to stay, would the council take another look at this?
A hard look.
I mean, could we get an answer from you, Doug? Or are you not?
I think everybody has to understand that the administrator serves at the pleasure of the council. And I think that's an important thing. I mean, there has to be that working relationship and trust. And sometimes, there are different viewpoints. I think the council has said that. And that's fine. Everybody has different opinions and ideas. Everybody thinks their ideas and opinions are right. The problem is that's true for everyone. That doesn't mean we're right. That just means we have different opinions.
Usually if everybody's going the same direction,
Well, it's not that-
and there's not anybody making any judgments, there's a problem.
You can hope that different viewpoints can lead to open discussions, better understanding, informed decisions. But sometimes, differences of opinion, what you don't want to see it is to degrade into polarization. No one wants that in this community. I mean, a community divided can't stand. I've really enjoyed working with this council and for this community. Really, thanks to them and others, we've accomplished a lot. But, I mean, they made it clear. I mean, they did not agree. That's fine. I mean, I don't vote, and so I think I do respect that. I mean, if you don't have the support, and if they're not going to trust or let's not necessarily agree, then I don't think I can be really effective, and it wouldn't be helpful to them. I mean, I really appreciate the public support, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that probably feel the opposite in terms of the other way. So, they asked me, and I really believe in their right to make sure they have people that are in line with them and doing what they want and bringing forth the ideas and the direction that they want. I support that. And so when they said I didn't have that, I agreed to resign. And I'd live up to my word. I mean, I'm not going to say, that I wouldn't. I still plan. I'm not saying if somehow we had, that kind of working relationship. And I know there's a lot of issues, but it's easy at times like this for everybody to want to say, well, who's at fault? And at the council, as far as I know, I mean, they may each have their different opinion and reasons. But, I mean, they elected, and I think why it's set up under the employment agreement when I came to town, that they didn't need cause. And because that stops there being a lot of divisiveness, any potential litigation as a result, they can just choose whatever they think is in the community's best interest to terminate, my services. In exchange for that, I'm giving certain, severance protection rights, and that was something that, I understood when I came, I agreed to it. And I wouldn't go back on that now. I think it's probably the best model. I don't think you want somebody here that is difficult to get rid of.
I agree with some of the things you're saying, but I've seen things happen here that never have happened before.
Exactly.
I mean, we've got new streets all over town. You're fixing up the city hall here. Those are only the good things that I've seen. I don't understand what you've done wrong. I mean, you have made suggestions, and the council has not been required to take your advice. But as long as you've been honest and straightforward, that's why I don't understand. You know, the things you have been saying are what you truly believe. And I'm just disappointed that the council can't take his advice and use it or not use it and keep a good man here who has done a lot of good things for this town.
A lot of good ones.
And sorry, I'm emotional too.
Yeah, get something?
It's just, I guess it's somewhat interesting. You are asking us to divulge some things that you yourself wouldn't do with an employee at the courthouse. I thought she did a good job too. There's just some things that we can't get past.
And the other thing about the roads and stuff, it was, I was looking back at when I ran for mayor in '09, one of my main goals was new roads. That was put in, we worked with Doug. I think Bob Camlin was pushing it pretty heavy too, getting road work redone. So it was a working process between the whole council and getting these roads redone and everything, and how we're gonna get it done and how we're gonna do it the most efficient way. So it was the whole council and Doug working together. There were a lot of things we agreed on, there were things we didn't agree on, and that's the difference of opinion. So there are things we all done together, there are things we fought like crazy to get things done, so it's just.
Well, I wanted to hear from Doug how he felt about it, and if he's okay at this point with it, then I guess we have to be okay with it too.
Doug has made you look good, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Jesus.
I'm Nancy Armstrong, and I want to thank you, Doug, for everything you've done for our community. It looks so good, no matter what part of the community you go to. It's up and fresh, and it's clean, and the houses are all in good shape, and they're painted, and the roads are good. And the people in the first ward should be very thankful for you, because they were complaining just a few years ago they didn't have any curbs. Now they have curbs for the water to go where it's supposed to instead of on their lawns. I thank you for that. The town, you have done so much for this town. And I am so proud of you that you got it accomplished where nobody else has for a long, long, long time. I thank you.
My name's, excuse me, Larry Hummel. I guess the question I have is pro-business or pro-citizens' rights? What's best for Atlantic? Doug Harris is for the entire city of Atlantic. Thank you, Doug. And he's doing it legally, not bending the rules. He's a full-time paid employee of the city of Atlantic, and he looks after all of Atlantic. I think it's time that the city of Atlantic, especially the council, quits letting one person come in here with a couple of backers and bullying this council. It kind of reminds me of a basketball player. You know, I don't want to pay my basketball rules, I can't pay my rule, I'm going home, take my ball and go home. That's what you guys are doing. Now, all I can say after that, I will call for you to resign, Mr. Mayor. If not, I'll be the first to sign my signature on a recall vote. Thank you.
Number one, I'm not gonna resign, and number two, there's no recall vote
Doesn't
for
surprise me.
position.
How many votes do we have to have for recall?
There's no recall vote on Mayor.
How many signatures?
There's not a recall vote.
No recall whatsoever?
There's an election coming up though sometime.
Only have one.
3 years.
We have to wait that long?
Yes, you do.
It's about time to get your.
But I want to just mention a couple things out there, how to concern citizens. When it comes up election time, I ask people to run for offices, and there ain't nobody raising their hand. I go out and dig through the dirt work to find people, I shouldn't say it that way. Go find people that want to run for office. So come in a year and a half for our next council elections, let's see some faces out there on the ballot. You know, I have no problem running against people. I believe what we did is, what I think we did is right. I believe it's right. I want to see you guys do some stuff on your own, you know, get involved in government. Put your name on the ballot. Kern Miller did, and so did Dave Wheatley, and so did Pat. I appreciate all the things they've done for it. So everybody else that's back there and you want to run something, oh, I want to get my name out there in public. I don't want to do this. So, you know, come election time, just remember, put your name on the ballot.
You know
That's
what,
it.
I was asked to run, and I said I would be happy to, but we're gone 3 months out of the year. And I
Okay.
said if I could do it Skype, and said, no, I cannot. I know somebody who does the hospital board that way. They're gone 3 months out of the year, and they do it by Skype.
That's a different board, that's a different set of
I know
rules.
it is, but I'm just telling you where I am. I would gladly run, but I either have to decide to stay with my husband or run for city council.
Okay.
And I still am not hearing a word from any of you council people. You're all, except for Dana. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Okay.
I'll be glad to say something.
Good.
I have not been bullied in my decision by anyone from this community. There.
And I will say the same thing, I have not either.
Let's close
Yeah.
up.
Until we go into,
Let's close the public.
We'll go to, make a motion, go into closed session.
I'll do that.
Okay, then let's go to closed session, second?
Second.
Motion second, discussion, go in closed session, we'll be back. We're gonna discuss severance pay with the council people.
Thank you, Doug, for your time. You've done a wonderful job.
Quick, about the top of the table. You okay, Deb? Roll call.
Do a roll call.
On,
Not on going out of closed session, but on the actual order accepting the resignation.
oh, okay. We'll do that anyway. Yeah. We got open, coming out, make a motion, get a closed session, or come out of closed, go back to open session.
I'll make a motion to go into open session.
Second.
Second, okay, any discussion? We're back in open session. On the agenda is approved order to accept the resignation and severance agreement, approved resignation and severance agreement between the city and the city administrator.
I'll make the motion.
That motion?
Second.
Second? All discussion? Debbie?
Jimerson,
No.
Summers,
Aye.
Hayes,
Aye.
Hartcott,
Aye.
Stewart,
No.
Halder,
Aye.
Cord.
No.
Passed 4-3. Thank you, Doug. Item number 8, order to appoint John Lynn as interim city administrator effective October 4th.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor?
Have you accepted his resignation yet?
That was
You
part of,
accepted you accepted the agreement, but if you
that was
accepted his
in the
resignation.
No, that was part of the motion.
in the agreement.
Okay.
Item number 8.
I make a motion to appoint John Lund as the interim city administrator effective October 4th, 2014.
Second.
A motion second, discussion?
Well, we're gonna discuss this meeting, or appointing, but then discuss a plan to move forward.
We're gonna have a meeting next Wednesday, Personnel Finance Committee, to talk about compensation for John. It's gonna be a 6-month interim appointment. And if things go well, we'll review it again and it'll either appoint again, or but that's gonna be discussed, the compensation plan will be discussed on next Wednesday night at Personnel Finance Committee meeting. And I'll bring it back to the council the following meeting.
Will we discuss, a search effort or whatever, like, during that 6-month time frame? Will that be on the agenda? I'm just wondering if that'll be on the agenda.
For a search for an administrator?
Yeah.
No, not, my plan not to have it on there, so we'll get the first 6 months out of the way and see what happens. Budget times, it's gonna be, we should be able to handle everything in-house during that time and see what John does, should forward first. We'll discuss that in 6 months. The council feels, and we talked about that. If we feel he's not up to it, we can, hey, we'll do something different, or we'll do a search. I mean, it has to be up to the council discussion, but give the kid a chance. But most of that, we got a lot of experience in here, and there's a lot of stuff that's, basically, like, they simplify the budget, but you got to figure taxes coming in, how much you're gonna spend out, and make those two match. I mean, so, just a lot of work in between, but I mean, that's the budget, but that's, we got to close that figure here, so we're not really inventing a brand new wheel on that.
And he might be a kid to you because you're so old, but he is a pretty sharp young man.
Mhm.
Thank you, Dana, I appreciate that.
In the way the motion is written, it doesn't say 6-month interim city administrator. Does that need to be included? Is that
How
a
about
technicality?
How about the timeframe be discussed by the personnel committee?
We can do that.
Yeah.
Before you can really do anything, we gotta make sure you get through item number 7 before you really get to 8. Okay, need a motion?
I think we did a motion for,
Did we?
didn't we? Didn't I just do that?
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
excuse me.
And Linda seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Item number 9, administrative report.
Can I make a statement, if that's all right?
Sure.
It's fine. I think it might be my last chance, so just wanted to tell the public and the council, I don't feel I'm entitled to anything. 3.5 years ago, I was hired by Doug, and Atlantic warmly opened their arms to a young man from Polk County, no less. And you all took a chance on me, and I've spent every waking breath trying to prove to this community that you've made a wise investment. With all due respect to the mayor, I don't believe I need any training. I've been in training for 3.5 years under a man sitting right across from me. Doug, I intend to honor your legacy, and I'm inspired by your class and integrity, and I'm deeply grateful for your mentorship, even at times where I was stubborn and wasn't listening, but I still appreciated it. Your grace over the past 3.5 years has not been lost on me. All I hope moving forward is that I have an opportunity to prove that I'm worthy of serving this community. You'll trust me, you'll give me your first song, and you deserve nothing less than absolute transparency. And if if you're unhappy with me, you can throw me in a shipping box and send my sorry self back to Polk County, as far as I'm concerned.
That's right, I'll
so.
put a sheriff's department back here.
But I wanted to let you know that, Doug, and I just, that's last chance.
Doug?
Well, let's see, I think I reported, seems like over 6 months ago, we were working with the sanitarium about getting the failing septic system over 1505 Chestnut corrected. So I'm happy to report that finally got replaced and has been corrected. So it took a while, but it did happen. I do want to let the council know that I have been working with a development company out of Cedar Rapids that's looking at investments in our downtown, such as the Whitney Hotel.
Sioux City?
No, Cedar Rapids, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I think I mentioned to you, no,
Okay.
Cedar
All right.
Rapids. I'll be passing this information on to John. They're still, they're very interested. They're gonna bring in their architects and look at it. And their preliminary figures thought it'd be in the neighborhood of $7 million to renovate. That would be quite a project. Looking at apartments on the upper floors and a restaurant and a sports bar on the first floor. Again, I mean, they're still going through their deliberation phase, and they want to keep this somewhat in terms of them and some of the conditions under wraps until they progress further. But you know, one of the comments and things that they and also like the Salvin Group have noted is as you get, I think there's a real potential for seeing some real revitalization and investments in our downtown. But one thing, and it's come up more than once, is the concern is, well, what about your owners? We don't see any reinvestment going on. People that own those buildings putting any money to fix them up. That's not a good sign. I mean, if the economy's, you know, vibrant, you know, the people that have these buildings are coming to the plate to look to do things. So there, I think there's an opportunity. I think we've talked about it in the past. Some of them might be looking at the minimum maintenance code. How do you get people to at least make minimal investments in those properties? And when they do make repairs, instead of putting up plywood or metal on the windows, I'm not saying they have to go back to historical windows and standards and that cost, maybe that wouldn't work here. But like we did in this building, put in glass panels or put in shutters so it makes the appearance that there's windows behind it. Little things like that I think could make a big difference. And now with the abatement program, you can offer, you know, business owners an incentive to make those improvements to their facades or look at second-story apartments. You know, even if you're successful in getting a few businesses, it's amazing how success breeds more success and investment more investment. And I think attracting this company and or others like it will be much more possible if we can show we're taking those first steps. Again, maybe look at the minimum maintenance code, focusing a little bit more intently on the downtown, and maybe look at some design guidelines saying maybe we don't want metal fronts. Again, that's an idea. It really needs to get the buy-in of the owners and the business community there, but I would just, kind of my parting, I guess, recommendations would be to focus on these opportunities.
One thing to mind that this is probably the 5th set of people coming looking at that place, so it's not the first one.
That's right, and there may be others, but, you know, again, I think what we're seeing, and even some local, there's growing interest. I think that, really, when you look at our downtown, it's pretty viable. I mean, there's not a lot of vacant buildings, but it does take, things don't tend to stay stagnant. You know, you're gonna either start seeing some investments. I've been told that some of the buildings aren't in very good structural shape. We wouldn't want to see what happened in Oakland, where one building falls down and takes a couple of others with it. So I think, you know, it would be to all of our interest to get everybody working together and preserve that downtown. It might mean that looking at incentives for the downtown as opposed to incentivizing businesses to build out on the outskirts. You know, without a viable growing, you may not be able to have both. So you may just want to weigh what your priorities are and how to achieve that. In terms of projects, we really have been wrapping up our projects this year. We're lucky we got started early, so here it's only the 1st of October. We're nearly done. 17th Street, I think, has just a couple of punch list items left on the reconstruction project for that. The last project, as you heard tonight, is replacing the sanitary sewer on Maple, the 900 block, and that is underway right now. I also was hoping to be able to report, I got 2 letters from the FAA, the Federal Administration on the same date, signed by the same person, and one was saying that the city had received a $150,000 grant for a new hangar, and the other one was to inform us that we hadn't. So I got them searching there, you know, which ones, right, if we have received it, I do have the forms and stuff to be signed.
There a time dated by any chance, Doug, or?
I don't know, we just had the same dates.
So we just.
They're researching that for me to let us know whether we did or didn't get that grant.
We can't pick the one we want.
Just read the
Seems
other
like
one.
we should be able to.
Yeah, we have.
The street crews reported they've been busy doing concrete patching. One of the big ones is up at Sycamore and 21st Street. Extensive patching up there. I know we're on Walnut and Second, the intersection there. There were some curbing and gutters that need to be reconstructed, so they've done that as well. They refinished the entrance to the library parking lot by the alley, where there were some problems. And on Hazel Street, they've been doing some work between 15th and 16th Street. Besides that, I think it's just been routine spraying for mosquitoes, cold patching, and water site ditches. I think with that, we've already talked about what's going on with the EPA and addressing that. And we've already approved to move forward that we're working with Molly. Molly's an important employer and working with them finding solutions. That's what I think in my notes. They can't meet the current effluent, the EPA guidelines, so we really do need to help them find solutions. With that, any questions?
Yeah, what's going on 10th? I saw a backhoe there down there.
Oh, that's 10th in Maple, so between 9th and 10th Street on Maple, they're replacing the sanitary sewer.
Okay. I think what he said.
And then we'll just do some patching, and we'll repave that next year.
Gotcha.
And they were working in the rain yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess, I didn't, we've had this project planned for a while, I just got a call from school, I guess that's what they set up for their homecoming parade.
Yeah. That's
So I
right.
guess they're gonna have to change that.
Usually they come down and then go west.
Do they?
Yeah.
But is that in front of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
so
is.
usually
yeah.
set up the middle school there and then they come down and.
Sorry, it's been a long night.
What about, did you talk about the house on 7th Street that's being?
Lynn?
John, when's the contractor supposed to be in on?
We've selected all the contractors had submitted their bids on the 29th. We only received one bid and we awarded it, and we're just moving forward to get that thing down and the area cleared. Because I know there's a lot of concern since it's right across from the Anwoodland Center for the kids.
No
And
date on it, nothing
as far as
schedule.
when I spoke to Jeremy, I said expediency is the priority here.
You go into the right weather, I think.
Oh, okay.
They were thinking when they're taking the asbestos stuff off.
Yeah.
All right,
And that's
I would just like to thank the mayor and the council for the opportunity to serve you and the public. It's a great community. We don't plan on going anywhere. And, but we'll be around, and, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Go down to mayor's report. I ain't got a whole lot. Basically, I'm probably the newspaper string for mayor. I say a lot of things. I'm a little brash at times. The heart of the city's always been behind me. A lot of things we've done, we've talked about before. A lot of things the city has done through it. Doug's been spending to get everything done. The council's been very progressive getting things done. A lot of things I pushed Doug to get going on some things, so then he pushed me to get going on. So it's been a team effort, so I want everybody to understand, it's tough times now, hopefully we'll smooth them out going down the road. But, I know people like to take whatever I say for words, and I just, that's me. I'll say some things sometimes, and I'll think a whole lot behind it, but that's me, the heart of the city is behind me. I want everybody to understand that part. Now we'll go to clerk's report.
Just the bills tonight total $203,906.61.
Motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Bills are paid. Item number 12, council liaison report. We're gonna start with, Bob Cord.
I attend the chamber meeting and report on Coke Days. 12 states were represented, 46 communities, 200 people attended a tailgate. Hotels are already reporting that most collectors have reserved rooms for 2015. 19,000 Christmas and Atlantic brochures were distributed to surrounding areas in mid-November. There has been a project director assigned or hired, but it's not for the public yet. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, that person has given their former, her employer,
Okay.
yes, they're no. So they'll announce that in about a week, she said this morning, in the builders. Dana?
I had AMU the 22nd, and you pretty much heard everything on that discussion. Hopefully we can move forward on that and not have any worries down the road. 23rd, we had community development and talked about the vacating of the property there on 22nd for the Sontag deal, and what we came up with there was to set a public hearing for October 15th, and at this point, the recommendation, there was no recommendation to the council whether to vacate or not vacate. We're looking for a little more information. There was nobody there from that project to fill us in on some things. It was interesting that there was one comment was that there was more questions asked at that meeting than there was at the P&Z meeting, so hopefully maybe we can get some more questions answered. That's all I got.
Lori?
Nothing.
Linda?
I had cable commission, and I believe the main source of conversation was Nick is going to be doing some searching for advertisers on Cablevision, promoting their businesses within the community.
I don't think you can call it advertising.
Not advertising, but promoting.
Promoting partners.
Promoting
Yeah.
partners. And that was that one. And I did want to say, in regards to AMU, they've been in our neighborhood burying some underground utility lines, and they've been very interruptive. You might have a truck to go around or whatever, but they've been very good to have in the neighborhood, leaving very little mess.
Well, we got Nick on the
Alright.
spotlight back there. Is there any chance you can start interviewing a few of our senior citizens like Phil Chintz?
I actually do have a project going on right now with the help of Tamara Gibson from the Y, going around and having senior citizens to sit down with us, and she's got a couple of her kids, kind of doing a school project, so, she's helping me and I'm helping her, so it's gonna be a pretty good project that we're doing.
It's a project that the library has been coordinating as well.
Okay, perfect. That's good. You got a lot of talent sitting out there, a lot of knowledge that's not in the books, and you're filling, a lot of knowledge out there on the history of Atlantic, so.
I didn't have anything to say.
Kathy?
Chris and I had the Cass County Public Safety Commission, and he wants to report on it.
So my turn?
Good.
Yeah, we had it on September 22nd. We've approved the request from AMU, contingent on a lawyer getting involved and looking at it. But what we've agreed to was that the 911 center would take phone calls on nights, weekends, and holidays. And the agreement was for AMU to pay $12,000, and it looks like it's gonna help, save them some money and put some in that coffer. And then Ashley and I did a community protection meeting on September 24th. We discussed the e-waste thing. We kind of talked about making it more than electronics, maybe, refrigerators, stuff like that, because that's also out there. We're gonna go down and talk with Wendy and see if
What her thoughts are.
her thoughts are if we could organize maybe some church groups or the young professionals and see if we could get some volunteers. Maybe we could get a discount rate if we went into our own landfill. But
I think Wendy sent me, when we were talking about, she sent me with that company to take do all the waste stuff. At the League of Cities meeting I went to, Council Bluffs last Thursday, We went to the Council Bluffs Recycling Center they have there, and they have a very elaborate one. The only thing about it, they charge $20 a ton to bring in their yard waste, but it all goes back out of compost. But they, I talked to them about what they charge, and basically they charge 25 cents a pound to do their monitors and stuff in that area. So basically, we're about the same thing. The whole theory is to try to get one big thing done, see what comes out of it. I thought the price was fairly fair on it, so.
I think.
We'll work on that part.
I think it's pretty fair too. It's just, we had some concerns, maybe somebody had some old refrigerators, ovens, other things they needed help with, and, you know, they can't get them out of their basement, don't have a truck.
I think we get that worked out.
Okay. But that's it.
Alrighty. We already had a public forum, pretty much. Anything else from the public that was not talked about on the council?
Something like
Well,
that.
we got one back here. I got a question for him too.
Oh.
Thank you. I don't have much voice left because I was down there last night. All night. Apologize.
You did a hell of a job, down there.
Yeah, I did all I could do. I've got the mutual aid agreement between Atlantic and Lewis, and I apologize. Last time when I told Doug I was gonna be here, I forgot I was gonna be gone at convention that Wednesday to answer any questions. So I cleaned up, went back through and cleaned up the errors that are on it, and I honestly hadn't read through it because Lewis gave me their copy and they had signed it and passed it because we weren't really changing anything. So once I read through, there were quite a bit. I did change a little bit of the language just to make it a little more understandable, but it didn't change anything as far as our coverage. So if you want to sign this, let me know. Look it over if you want to. Sign it, let me know, and then I'll get it down to Lewis so they can sign it and we can get it
We can do
done.
the next meeting, can't we?
Yeah.
Next
Well, you've already
Yes,
approved the sign.
you've already approved it.
Oh, just
It was
correct.
contingent on.
That's
This is just the
correct.
corrections on it, so it'll be the same. I will be, looking at Marnie's, it probably expired as of a few months ago, so Josh, the chief over there, and I have been talking, so we'll be bringing that one up to you as well.
Okay.
Without,
Yeah.
errors.
Yeah, I got one question,
Yeah.
from the articles yesterday's paper about our ethanol thing. Have they bought us any more foam, extra foam done? We got extra foam in case
Yeah.
something does happen? Okay,
Yep,
they
we
have
got quite a bit more.
Okay.
We were gonna go down and train with Corning down at the plant down there, last fall, and it was so windy that we couldn't do it, so we're trying to reschedule it again another.
Okay.
They do it every year. We do have, actually, 2 of our firefighters are now working for Poet, and are actually the ones hauling it in, so I feel even a little bit better about that.
They carry foam back with them?
Yeah, no, but they know where it's at.
Okay. All right, thanks, Chief.
Being you have the camera, you might want to mention to people about your breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, sure, I'm doing advertisement. Sunday morning, we have a breakfast for Fire Prevention Week. We kick it off then. Parade is on the 11th, so invite anybody to enter that. Next week, our guys, I've got several of them that are taking off. They take off the week to do, it's a very busy week. They spend a lot of hours, 4 days of that week, either in the schools or bringing kids out to do fire prevention. Dustin McLaren's my fire prevention officer. Doesn't get enough credit for what he does, putting everything together, but they do a whale of a job. And I think we've got a new, I think I can probably say it. Rolling Hills is going to be working with us to get smoke detectors out to first graders. We're still working on getting the numbers and the list on that. So a couple of years ago, we started it with the fire marshal and got it out into a lot of homes. Now I'm excited that if we can get this every year with them, depends on how it goes, if we can hit maybe the first grade every year, we can get a lot of them out into the homes that need them, that don't have them. We did have a fire save here due to, that I credited to smoke detector about 6 weeks ago, where a lady fell asleep on her mattress with a lighted cigarette, and the alarm went off, but she didn't awake, but the neighbor did in an apartment building, and she was able to be saved, and probably several others in there, and we got a quick knockdown. So, yeah, I can't stress enough, the detectors save lives, and to check your batteries. If you don't have them, please get them. If you are in a situation where you can't afford them, we have a few left over that, we'd be glad to install, especially if it's in a home of somebody with small children, or maybe the elderly that don't have the resources. So we've got a few that we can do and get in there, and I just as soon get them in there instead of the few we've got sitting in our basement. It's a good deal.
Yeah, touch back, and she said that that detector doesn't do any good if you don't have batteries in it. So make sure you check them twice a year,
I would.
daylight
yeah.
and night, and
Yep.
that.
If nothing else, at least when you hear fire prevention week, at least do it.
And the batteries think that are very,
No,
are
and
very
it-
cheap compared to results.
It's surprising how many times we go into somewhere and they've taken it out and not put it back in, whether they've used it in something else or they've taken it out and just replaced it. Well,
Okay.
it's not doing a darn bit of good.
All right. John, you had something?
Yeah, something
You
like
gotta go up there.
Go up there.
Just something lighthearted and fun. I've been working with Shirley Chappies at the library, and next Friday, there's no school for kids. And at the library from 2:30 to 4 o'clock, they'll be celebrating Star Wars International Read Day. There's gonna be a lot of fun events. And it took some string pulling, but Lord Darth Vader will be appearing there. And this is not some sad costume, Halloween costume Darth Vader, but the real deal. He'll be posing for photographs and probably get beat up by the kids, you know. It'll be a good time, so I encourage anyone that some young kids to go
You
down to the library and
probably
have a
have
good
a
time.
lot of adults there too.
What?
You probably have a lot of adults there. There's a lot of Star Trek.
I think I know one.
How many?
I don't know whether I'm concerned or not.
Okay.
Dave,
Yes.
have you ever talked with the county about cooperating on that, the refrigerators?
Yeah, I talked to Wayne at one of the Cadville meetings, and we're just in the talking stage now. And once we get a little more information, it'd be nice to have a countywide one.
Right.
Because we're gonna get hit anyway. The thing is trying to make it free. It's gonna be about a
Now,
$5,000
by
bill.
making it free, are the taxpayers paying for it, or what?
Well, that's, I think we
Is there
get,
a
I think we get
cost, or-
support. I'm thinking, I talked to Mr. Lively about maybe some from CPC, and getting some out of there, and then getting some from, I think there'd be some business that would kick in to get it, help it get cleaned up. I think right now,
So they do charge you then?
it's 25 cents a pound, and they'll bring the semi in, and they'll take 25 cents a pound for monitors and TV tubes.
Right.
Everything else is, like your microwaves and computers, they'll take those away free, there's no charge in that area. But they'll bring a guy in, bring a semi down, we'd have to have like a forklift, they'll put them in dumpsters and get rid of it. So I think like $4,000, I thought maybe 5,000 might be a better budget number. Because they said the first one you have, you're probably gonna fill it pretty fast. It's gonna be like a 5 or 6 hour, doesn't bring it to us, we're not going out after things. We'll have to go to Plan 2, which would be, but that would be more helping the elderly people get stuff out of basements.
Well, I liked what Chris said about the refrigerators
Yeah.
and TVs and all that stuff, because that's what we're finding out out around the county, that people are throwing out. Most of it comes from town here.
Yeah.
but-
That's the plan, is to see if we can eliminate that problem. So I started with the TVs and stuff, we're worked out, and I'll give that company a call, and we'll talk with Lindy out there. See it'd be nice to have them both.
There are some people that will pay for, or they'll come and pick up refrigerators.
I talked to Wendy about that when I first got to come
But
mayor.
she doesn't
But
maybe-
her problem is you gotta be certified to take the Freon stuff out, and a lot of these people will come and take the good stuff, then you find a shell out in the ditch that they don't want. And so we gotta make sure we got so basically bring a company and do it. If there's somebody in town wants to do it, we're more glad to work with them.
Well, we had a guy that got some of ours personally, and he took them somewhere in Omaha.
You sure?
Yep,
Okay.
I'm sure.
I'll talk to you with it.
Yeah, we'll work on it, we wanna get that done, so it's a lot farther up than it was 4 years ago.
Okay.
Chris?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. Thank you.